I am Marisa Leoncini, and I'm responsible for the education sector in the UK Trade and Investment Department in Argentina. And I'm here to give you a presentation on the fundamentals. So I'll start with some political, economic, cultural overview, then I'll speak about the education sector, and finally, business opportunities and how we can help from UKTI. So, where's Argentina? First of all, first step to understand the market. Argentina is in the most southern part of the planet, and it's part of South America. It's a large country, has 2.8 million square kilometers of distance. And our neighboring countries are Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, Brazil, Uruguay, and we also border with the Atlantic Ocean. If we look at this funny map, we can see that from north to south, the distance from north to south in Argentina equals the distance from Lisbon to Moscow or from London to Baghdad. It's 11 times the size of the UK. So this gives you the idea of a large market, a large country. Population. Argentina has a population of plus 40 million people. 90%, the majority of the population is concentrated in the main cities. These are Buenos Aires, where the capital city is, that only Buenos Aires concentrates 13.8 million people. And then the other main cities are Córdoba, Rosario, Mendoza, and Tucumán, which concentrate about 1 million people each. Buenos Aires is the one-stop shop for most of the industries. So if you are trying to find an agent, it's very logical that you find someone in Buenos Aires who will be able to cover all the market. Buenos Aires, you'll see, it's a very European-like city and European business-like as well, probably because of the large immigration that we received from Europe, starting with the Spanish colonization in 1500. So it's quite different from the rest of South America that you will find if you visit Argentina. Right, political overview. Yes. Argentina was born a democracy. And it was born a democracy with some interruptions since 1930. The actual president is Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. She's at the moment completing her second period. She followed her husband, Néstor Kirchner, who is now deceased. And all in all, the Kirchner family have been in the government for 10 years, for the last 10 years. We had midterm elections recently in October, and they got 33% of the votes differently from the presidential last elections where they got over 50%. This time they got 35% of the votes, but they still have the majority in Congress, so they still concentrate all the power. The economy. The economy has been growing steadily for the last 10 years. There's now some kind of stagnation because of the world crisis that contributes to that. But beside from the recurrent images of tango, football, and meat, Argentina is the 22nd largest economy in the world and the second in South America after Brazil. So it's a large economy. To give you some examples, the economy in Argentina is larger than the Netherlands economy. It's twice the size of Austria, Norway, or Switzerland, and 3 times the size of Denmark or Finland. So why we say that Argentina is an interesting market? We say that because It's a large country with shale oil and gas and minerals. It's the second largest manufacturing base in South America. For example, in 2012, there was a production of 800,000 vehicles, as well as 800,000 motorcycles as well. So there's a large production of vehicles. Also, it's a production base for steel and petrochemicals. There are 30,000 kilometers of fiber optics. We have good ports and roads. And also, it's the only Latin American country with 3 Nobel Prizes in sciences, which is something that many people don't know, but we have a lot of talent in Argentina. As well, we have a high English language proficiency level, according to the rankings, the World War rankings. And Argentina is also a source of professional and technical talent for many international companies. And finally, which is, I think it's very interesting as well, many people don't know, there are daily flights, direct flights from Buenos Aires to London and London, Buenos Aires with British Airways. It's the only, after Brazil, it's the only country that has daily direct flights. That means that there's a lot of people coming and going and doing business and coming for studying and all that type of things. Digital trends. I thought it was interesting to mention within the context of this trade show that Argentina has a high penetration of mobile phones. It's the highest in Latin America. It's even higher than the UK. There's 145 phones per 100 inhabitants. There's a high usage of social networks, anything, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. That's also quite interesting to mention. And as well, Argentina is a producer of internet content in Spanish. Actually, Argentina produces 50% of the world's internet contents in Spanish. It's also an exporter of software. Trade. Argentina is part of the Mercosur Southern Cone Common Market. Since 2010, there has been a positive balance of trade, but it started to shrink in 2012. Argentina introduced some measures to limit the use of hard currency overseas. This is because Argentina is a large importer of fuel from Venezuela, so the government needs hard currency to pay for those imports. So they are looking to balance trade between exports and imports. That's why they introduced some restrictive measures for importing, which I will talk about a bit later. And also, Argentina is the entry route of other Spanish-speaking markets. Also interesting, when you look at Argentina as a market, it's not only Argentina, it's part of a region, and many a lot of trade is happening from Argentina to neighboring countries. So how is the UK present in Argentina, commercially speaking? Many people don't know this. There are more than 120 British companies with offices in Argentina. They are operating from Argentina. This is very important because many people ask me, oh, is it being British a problem nowadays to do trade with Argentina? There's no problem for trade for being British. I mean, and this is an excellent example, the number of companies operating there. In 2012, we had imports from the UK worth £354 million. What do we import from the UK? We import medical and pharmaceutical equipment or products. We import chemicals and power generating equipment. Those are the main areas that we import from the UK. And what do we export to the UK? Well, we export animal feedstuff, meat, vegetables, fruit, cereals, soybean. So mainly those basic products. Right. Now, let's speak about the education sector. The education system is decentralized. I didn't mention before, Argentina has 23 provinces and 24 jurisdictions. That means each province is a federal country, so each province has their own independence. So the National Ministry of Education makes the policies, acts as an assessor and arbitrator of the province governments, but each province has their independence in themselves. So how does it work when government or state schools require educational products or material? It's not like in other countries that schools control the budgets. It's actually the ministries of education that control the budgets. They agree with schools what their needs are. The government purchases the products and then they deliver the products to the schools. School education is free and compulsory from 5 to 14 years of age. And also this is very interesting. The English language is obligatory in state schools, in the province of Buenos Aires as of the age of 6, and in the city of Buenos Aires as of the age of 4. So it's the second language. You know, it's not Portuguese, it's not other languages. It's the English language that the government considers to be very important as a second one, right? And this plan is to cover all the country with the obligation of English language, but the problem is that at the moment they don't have all the resources, they don't have the trained teachers to do it obligatory, but that's in the future, this is what is going to happen. To give you an idea of size of the market, educational establishments, there are plus 48,000 establishments from kindergarten to tertiary education. This including the state and the private sector. And so most of the students go to state schools. Universities, we have 48 state universities and 57 private universities. It's interesting in universities, the government has created several new universities in the last few years. So there's an area, again, where there's a lot of interest to develop. According to the Ministry of Education, there are 11 million students. So 8 million go to state schools and 3 million to private schools. This slide shows you the different percentages of students going to the different levels of education in Argentina. I thought it's interesting to mention other facts and figures about Argentina. There's a very high enrollment in primary education. There's a high literacy rate as well. And according to the World English Proficiency Ranking, we are number 20 in the world and number 1 in Latin America. So the English language is very much British-style English, the one that's taught in schools. It's the only country in Latin America that looks at the English language referring always to the UK. Other countries use more the North American English language. So that's interesting as well. And the UK is very highly regarded as a good quality in the education industry. This is all very nice, but there's another ranking in the world called PISA, which is a program for international student assessment that assesses the students of secondary schools regarding reading, science, and maths. And Argentina got a very low ranking in this quality ranking. So that's something that's being looked at very much by the government. Quality of education. There are no standards used for quality of education. We are still very underdeveloped in that area. One of the tools, one of the programs that the government has to contribute to inclusion of technology is this interesting program which is called Conectar Igualdad. This is One-Netbook-per-Child. The program started in 2010 and they've already delivered for free 3 million netbooks, and they plan to complete the program with 4 million netbooks by 2015. So this is very interesting. It's not the solution to the quality problem, but it contributes, and it's really interesting because this obliges private schools to be up to the standard, because there was a time where all state schools had one netbook per child, and private schools were sort of outdated. So they are now trying to include technology much more. So there's a sector that's being developed. It's interesting to mention that these netbooks are not imported. The national government promotes local production. So what they do is they import the parts of the computers and they assemble them locally. And the contents of those netbooks are, at the moment, mainly developed locally, but, well, I'll talk about opportunities later on, but I think there's room there for delivering content to these netbooks. This is very important, and we have to be honest. There are some practical issues to enter the market that you have to know. Every time a local importer needs to import goods or services, they have to submit to the tax authorities and the customs office a sworn statement of intention to import. This is sent electronically to the government, and it includes all the details of the import, like what goods you're going to import, how many, the price of the goods or services, everything. Theoretically, this process takes 10 days to be approved. But this is the first, as we say, hurdle to go through. Then there's a non-automatic import license, which is less applied lately. It's mainly for certain ranges of products. Supposedly it's for luxury products, cars, jewelry, certain type of products. And sometimes these requirements applied when a product competes with a local production. So it's also another step to go through. And finally, the central bank in Argentina must approve in advance the currency transfer to payments over $100,000. So there's another process to go through. But again, we always recommend to find the right agent or distributor. Distributors who are experienced, know the market, have imported before, they know all the requirements, they know how to sort them out, and it's also a plus if the importer exports as well. So that's very well perceived by the government, that the importer compensates their imports with exports. So when finding an agent, you can ask if they are exporting. It's also a plus. It's always a plus. Why, before going to the next slide, why all these requirements? There is a reason for this. Government is trying to balance the trade between exports and imports. They want to avoid or to reduce capital flights. Why? They need hard currency to pay mainly for the imports of fuel. So the industry perceives these as being temporary. Especially the government's completing their term in 2015, so there is hope in the industry that this will be more flexible very soon. So it's good to take into account. Business opportunities, we think the business opportunities are definitely in ICT, probably more than equipment, digital contents are more important, have more potential, especially contents that are innovative and not easily developed locally, because we do have local production of software. So it has to be, if we import software, it has to be something more innovative, specific. If it's related to language training, that's excellent. Anything related to English language training, either digital contents or material related to that, that's definitely a niche of opportunity. Then corporate training, e-learning, university education, postgraduate training programs are also areas to explore. So how can we help from UKTI? Well, we can give you any type of market information you may need or explanations on the trade requirements or import requirements. We can arrange programs of meetings. Actually, it's tailor-made help. It's case by case. So that's the type. If you're planning to visit the market, we can do launching events at our embassy. There are different types of help that we can provide British companies. It's just can be just an inquiry by email. Do not hesitate to do it, because that's what we are there for. Also, forthcoming trade fairs. If you're planning to visit South America, take into account these specific trade fairs related to education. There's one in February. This one is interesting. The one in February, it concentrates, it gathers the Catholic schools, which is a network of 5,000 schools, and they are developing their technology inclusion a lot. So that type of schools are very interesting to target. And then, well, the International Book Fair. Most of the British main publishers have offices in Argentina, and they usually participate in the International Book Fair. And then, well, FAPI is English language teaching, congress and exhibition. Last year it gathered 1,000 teachers of English language from Argentina and all the neighboring countries. So all these events are large and are interesting. Well, ESARP is also related to English language, and Expo Universidad, which is about universities. So keep them in mind in case you're visiting the market or the region. So thank you very much for listening. This presentation is available by email if you want. So just send me an email. I can send the presentation. And any questions you may have, or if you want to meet me later on, I will be in the UKTI's stand, and you can arrange. I still have some spare slots, so you can arrange a meeting with me or contact me later on. I'll be tomorrow at the fair as well. So thank you.